Yes!
If you're a new light player, especially somebody who didn't join Destiny 2 until Seasons 9 or 10, the hype surrounding the return of Trials of Osiris didn't mean anything to you because you have no idea what it is, and that's completely understandable. Because if you never experienced something, or if you have little to no knowledge about it, why would it mean anything to you? But it's all good, because in this video, we'll discuss what the Trials of Osiris game mode is, as well as all of the other fun little details. So, without further ado, let's get it in. As stated previously, it would only be the newest of the new players who have no idea what Trials of Osiris is, due to the fact that it made its return in Destiny 2's 10th season, aka Season of the Worthy. If that's the case, you might be asking where it's been this entire time since Destiny 2 came out almost 3 years ago. Okay. So in Destiny 1, Trials of Osiris came out in the House of Wolves era, which kicked off in May of 2015, I believe, and will be available every Friday through Sunday every weekend. Trials was positively received and quickly ingrained itself into Destiny's culture as an in-game PvP activity, and is often perceived as a PvP equivalent to raids. This game mode stayed around for the entirety of Destiny 1's lifespan from the moment it was released. Now fast forward to September of 2017. Destiny 2 releases and Trials of Osiris is nowhere to be seen, but Bungie eventually announced that a successor game mode known as Trials of the 9 will be Destiny 2's spin on the original Trials that was present in Destiny 1. This meant that Trials of Osiris wouldn't be returning in Destiny 2. Now similarly to Trials of Osiris, Trials of the 9 would be available every Friday through Monday, instead of every Friday through Sunday like Trials of Osiris was. Now if you weren't around for year 1 of Destiny 2, let me go ahead and say that this was the absolute worst time for the game, as well as the worst time to be playing it. Destiny 2 experienced a huge decrease in its overall player base due to the massive divagation that Destiny 2 took from the culture that was established over the 3 years of Destiny 1's lifespan. In year 1 of Destiny 2, every single PvP game mode across the board was 4v4. Times to kill and ability cooldowns were slower than molasses, so sticking with your teammates and slowly team shooting enemies to death was literally mandatory. Oh yeah, and everybody was forced to wield 2 primary weapons at the same time, one being in your kinetic slot and the other being in the energy slot. And shotguns, fusion rifles, and sniper rifles were thrown into the heavy slot with weapons such as rocket launchers and swords, whereas in Destiny 1, all weapons classified as primary existed in the primary slot. Special weapons consisted of sidearms, fusion rifles, shotguns, and sniper rifles, and machine guns, rocket launchers, and swords were in the heavy slot. Also, Destiny 1's PvP kill times were very fast, so it's 100% understandable why all of these changes in Destiny 2 frustrated everybody so badly. The game was just terrible across the board, and PvP took the biggest hit out of everything. Now, let's be real here. Destiny's PvP has never and probably never will be its main selling point, but it's just as much of a part of the Destiny culture, longevity, and overall entertainment package as PvE is. So now that you understand how much of a terrible time year 1 of Destiny 2 was, you can only imagine how badly Trials of the 9 suffered, because believe me, it did. But yeah, unlike the Egyptian-themed Trials of Osiris, Trials of the 9 was themed after the 9. Now if you aren't familiar with who the 9 are, the YouTuber known as My Name is Bife uploaded a video discussing who the 9 are, as well as some other cool lore stuff. So if you're interested in learning more about the 9 and other Destiny lore in general, I have a link in the description box to Bife's video. Now in Trials of the 9, teams of 4 are tasked with winning 7 games in a row without losing. This achievement is known as going flawless, and once that happens, you will have gained access to a social space known as the Spire, where you will collect various Trials of the 9 weapons and armor. Trials of the 9 existed in Destiny 2 all the way into the release of the Forsaken DLC, which kicked off year 2 of Destiny 2. A week or so before Forsaken release, shotguns, fusion rifles, and sniper rifles returned as special weapons, and kill times of PvP were fast once again. It was safe to say that Destiny 2 was feeling like the game it should have been at launch. Now the only problem is that Trials was nowhere to be seen, and Bungie wasn't really saying much about it. Now if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't until the This Week at Bungie update of February 14th of 2019 where Bungie would state that Trials of the 9 would be on indefinite hiatus, meaning that this game mode would never see the light of day in Destiny 2 again. Now this frustrated most, if not all, of the PvP side of the player base, but Bungie never once stated that Trials of Osiris would never return. Of course, we were relying on false hope and rumors for an entire year until the tail end of Season of Dawn. Season 9, also known as Season of Dawn, was coming to a close, and during this time we were given a community effort quest known as the Imperium Foundation. Again, as a community, we were tasked to donate literal billions of a currency known as fractaline to an object known as an obelisk situated in the middle of the tower. The community speculated that when this final goal was met, the end reward would be the return of Trials of Osiris. I mean, it was pretty obvious that this was about to happen because Saint 14 became an NPC in this season, and his entire area in the tower was Trials themed. It was also heavily alluded that Saint would be the commentator for Trials matches if it were to return based on his in in-game dialogue during Season 9. And when the final goal was met, we, the Destiny community, donated roughly 4.2 billion, yes, billion of the fractaline currency. And sometime later, we would be given a cutscene of our guardians lighting the flame of the lighthouse. From that point on, it was basically confirmed that Trials of Osiris was coming back. If I'm not mistaken, a day later, Bungie uploaded a reveal trailer of the return of Trials of Osiris and stated that it would be returning March 13th of 2020. Okay, so now we've passed all the introductions and whatnot, we could talk about what Trials of Osiris is in depth. So, remember how I said that Trials of the Nine was themed after the Nine? Well, Trials of Osiris is Egyptian themed, and all of the weapons and armor are gold and black. In regards to the game mode itself, Trials of Osiris consists of teams of 3 going head-to-head in power level enabled matches of elimination, and a team that wins 5 rounds wins the entire match. In elimination, when you're defeated, you can only rejoin battle if an ally revives you. The first time that you die, your teammates have to wait 5 seconds to be able to pick you up, and if I recall correctly, every time you die, your next revive timer is extended by 5 more seconds, but only for that particular round that you died in. Now, once your team wins 7 games without losing, you'll be granted access to the lighthouse, where you'll receive various Trials of Osiris weapons and armor after opening the chest there. Now, in order to partake in the Trials of Osiris, you must first reach power level 960, and even though 960 power will get you in, you'll literally be ineffective in combat unless you raise your power level beyond 1000. The powerful gear level cap in Season 10 is 1000, whereas the pinnacle power level is 1010, and due to the fact that Trials of Osiris is a power level enabled activity, your main focus should be leveling so that your opponents don't have too much of an advantage over you. However, if you're too eager to wait, then have at it, but realize that since the majority of the Trials player base has been playing for months, it'll be very rare that you'll go against somebody below 1000 power. You've been warned. Oh yeah, and another thing to note is that you can't load into Trials solo at all. You must be in a fire team of 3 because if you aren't, the game will literally not allow you to proceed. Anyways, once you're ready to partake in Trials, you'll have to visit Saint 14 in the hangar. And once you talk to him, you'll realize that he has several bounties and 5 different exotic items referred to as passages. But you'll commonly hear members of the Destiny community refer to them as cards, and they consist of the Passes of Mercy, Passes of Ferocity, Passes of Wealth, Passes of Wisdom, and Passes of Confidence. Now, all of these passages have a hefty glimmer and legendary shards fee to purchase and are character specific, and once obtained, that particular passage will expire when the weekly reset kicks in on the following Tuesday. Also, be advised that each passage has its own benefit. For example, the Passes of Mercy will forgive 1 loss, and provided that you win your other 6 games, you'll be granted access to the lighthouse. On each card, there are 7 squares below the word wins and 3 squares below the word losses. Each time you win a match, one of the squares below wins will turn yellow, but each time you lose a match, the squares below losses will fill in with a red X, and you will have to reset your card if you lose 3 matches. Winning 7 matches in a row with 0 red X's is a flawless card and will grant you access to the lighthouse. Be advised that you can only carry 1 passage at a time, and you will have to spend a glimmer and legendary shards fee again if you decide to pick up a new one. Okay, so we already established that the Passes of Mercy forgives a single loss, so let's take a look at the other passages. Passes of Ferocity grants you a bonus win after you have 0 losses after winning your 3rd match. So basically, after you win your 3rd game and you have 0 red X's on your card, you'll automatically be given a 4th yellow square for your wins, and your next game will be game 5. This means that you'll only have to win 6 games to go flawless instead of 7. Passes of Wealth grants extra Trials tokens for completing matches. Losses reward you with 3, and wins reward you with 5. Trials tokens are a Trials exclusive consumable, and every 20 tokens turned into Saint 14 will reward you with a random Trials of Osiris weapon or armor piece that you discovered before. Yes, that means that if you're after one of the more coveted weapons such as the Astral Horizon or the Eye of Soul, for example, you have to have obtained that weapon at some point in time before in order for it to be a possible drop in the Trials engram. Passes of Wisdom grants bonus experience from winning Trials matches, and the more matches you win, the more experience you receive. And finally, Passes of Confidence grants extra loot from the Flawless chest. When I completed my first Confidence card, I only received an extra piece of legendary gear and 2 Ascended shards, and I was told by everybody else who completed this passage that the extra loot that it's supposed to reward isn't the most exciting. No differently than Trials of the Nine, Trials of Osiris always kicks off every Friday after the daily reset and ends on the weekly/daily reset of the following Tuesday. Every weekend, Trials is featured on a different map, and if you're curious to know what your trial stats are, as well as the stats of others and other trials relevant information, visit the website known as DestinyTrialsReport.com. I've been using this website since Trials of Osiris back in Destiny 1, and it's always been viable. Well, everybody, that does it for this one. In the comment section, tell me how Trials have been treating you this season, and let me know if you prefer Trials of Osiris and its Egyptian theme, or Trials of the Nine and its Nine theme. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor and thumb rest of that like button until it turns blue. And if you're new to my neck of the woods, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you don't ever miss a video of the most elite gaming content. But with that being stated, 1LHD is over and out. Y'all take it easy.